Hello everyone, welcome back. Third time lucky. I've just spoken to Gay Godkin and we should be able to connect now. So she is joining from the ProSieve account to talk about the very important topic of vitamin D and zinc, to answer all your questions around what supplements to take, when, how they can enhance fertility, and really what you need to look for in your supplements, and also diet. I know this is a super popular topic. We've covered it with ProSieve in a brilliant article, which I have linked to in our bio. So for further reading, to just absorb all of that information, head to our link in bio, and you can also get a discount, an exclusive discount from ProSieve for a short period. So take advantage of that. Hopefully she should be coming in now. Hello, hi to those who are joining. Nice to see you today. There, hello Gay.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon, everybody.
Fantastic.
I'm very well. How's everybody?
Yeah, good, thank you. We've had some great questions come in. Lots of interest around this topic, and I know from when I was trying to conceive, supplements, diet, it was all just so important to just feel confident that you're taking the right thing to prepare your body for either natural conception or reproductive assistance. So first of all, could you just introduce yourself and explain a bit more about what you do and a bit about ProSieve?
Okay, so good afternoon. Yes, I've been in this area for many, many years, working directly with the fertility clinics in Ireland. I've done quite a lot of continual professional development for both the staff, the nurses and the doctors in all of the clinics, which has been very well received, because as you understand, these doctors, these gynecologists are extraordinarily busy people, and they don't get a chance to learn anything in relation to nutrition. So they're always most grateful when we can come along and sort of say, yay, look at this, and it's a one-stop shop, rather than saying to somebody, well, take a box of vitamin D, their zinc, their C, their CoQ10, their, the ProSieve range is very neat because you get everything together. What I always say to people in relation to this is less is more. I very often encounter people who come to see me in my clinic, or even speaking to the obstetricians, gynecologists out in the fertility clinics, is people come with bag loads of supplements, and then they want to use their time during the consultation. Do I take vitamin A, B, C? And they're always at a loss. So it's great when you can say, look, you take 2 of these, that's you done.
But it's also really easy to forget what you've taken, even within 5 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, look, everybody's very busy. And if you have a little protocol, you get up in the morning. The one thing I would say to you about the ProSieve range is it does need to be taken on a full tummy. Okay.
Why is that?
Well, it's for many reasons, but one of the, I suppose, we're going to talk a bit about zinc today. Zinc makes up your stomach acid. And if you overdo zinc, and recently I had a lady who came to see me, and she read an article about zinc and thought, that's the holy grail.
Oh no.
Yeah. And it's balanced with copper. So that's very important as well. So, they are supplements to supplement your diet, but they are working even on a genetic level down to the DNA, in a cell. So we have to be careful that we're taking a gentle formula that'll just nudge you on. But getting back to your question in relation to when to take it, because there's B vitamins in there as well. And if sometimes people take B vitamins on an empty tummy, thiamine and riboflavin, and that can also cause this kind of uncomfortableness in the tummy and a bit of reflux.
Yeah. I think the other thing to note is, as we were just talking about with ProSieve and having all of that in one, where you take, did you say 2 a day?
Yes.
It's, you don't need to worry about kind of worrying about the amounts of each different type of supplement to make up the whole. That's all been worked out for you, so you don't have the stress of getting it wrong and kind of tipping the balance on a certain vitamin. As you were just discussing, it can have negative effects if you take too much of one supplement, for example.
Yeah, and we hear an awful lot about things like antioxidants. So it's a kind of posh word. They're just little kind of plant chemicals that protect the cells, particularly the cell membranes. And you can overdo it on antioxidants, strangely enough, because they become free radicals and they become more damaged. The other thing about antioxidants is that in the body, they need to be recycled. So when you're taking, for example, zinc, it needs vitamin E, it needs vitamin C, it needs CoQ10, vitamin E, all of those, because otherwise you will end up with what we call unpaired electrons, and you will do more damage to particularly volatile sperms, but sperm is extraordinarily volatile.
Thinking about vitamin D to start with, how, obviously we know that sun is good, and there are other, what are the ways that people normally get vitamin D without taking supplements? Because I presume a lot of people, especially if they don't have things like sunshine there, are lacking in these areas. So food and everyday weather or whatever is not going to be sufficient to give you what you need.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So a couple of things with vitamin D is this. Number one, the best source of vitamin D is, as you pointed out, from the sunshine. And the World Health Organization recommends a 20-minute arm and leg exposure per day. And I don't know about where you are, but where we are, you wouldn't put your toe out there some days.
No.
So, there's a huge amount of the vitamin D is required for every cell of the body. In terms of food sources of vitamin D, difficult enough to get. Can I just say to you that vitamin D is actually a steroid hormone. I know we call it a vitamin, but it's actually a steroid hormone. So you will get vitamin D in the yolk of a free-range egg. You will get it in full-fat milk. You will get it in lamb's liver, calf's liver. You will get it in oily fish such as sardines, anchovies, and mackerel. Most people don't have those kind of foods in their daily diet. The other thing with vitamin D is because we, as the current model of human beings, we're still hunter-gatherers and we are designed to be outdoors. So most people, particularly over lockdown, we were indoors all of the time, artificial light and all that goes with it. Absolutely. So we don't have a choice but to supplement. Now for fertility, it is slightly different than if you're just, if you're not trying to conceive, or if you're not pregnant. You really need it when you're pregnant. But trying to conceive, your level when you get your blood results should be over 80. Now, I'm not quite sure in the UK, but in Ireland, the level of 50 they deem sufficient. It's a very historic marker. It's not sufficient at all for people who are trying to conceive or pregnant women. So you do need to be 80 nanomoles per litre if you're in that space of fertility and conception. At the other end, you don't want to go above 125. I had a lady yesterday who was on 145. So just keep an eye on that. And again, that's the beauty of your ProSieve.
Yeah.
Because,
absolutely.
You're not going to get more than you need in there. And if you're taking it then with the max has the omega-3 in there. So omega-3 and vitamin D go hand in hand, so to speak, yeah?
Yes, and for anyone who's just joined, if you head to our link in bio, you can read all about this and the topics we're covering today in more detail, thanks to ProSieve. They're also offering, for a limited time, our readers 15% off with code FHHVIP15, just making sure I get that right. So do take advantage of that. And so I just wanted to find out a bit more about vitamin D before we move on to zinc.
Right.
Why is it so important for conception and pregnancy?
Oh, well, we would want about 5 hours to get through that, but
Okay.
because I can't tell you how vitally important it is, not to every function of the body. We start with the immune system. Yeah. So vitamin D is involved in about 300 genetic expressions across the human genome. So that's our genome there. Without vitamin D, certain faulty genes can get switched on.
Wow.
All right. And that is why we know that people in the northern hemisphere, as opposed to people who live around the equator, have a lot more autoimmune conditions.
Really?
So, absolutely. Yeah. So these are epidemiological studies that they have looked at this. So the closer you go to the equator, the less autoimmunity you're going to see. So for a lot of women, they struggle with thyroid, particularly during, as a result of not being able to get pregnant. You know, I pick up a lot of women with hypothyroid, and more importantly, autoantibodies to their thyroid, Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Without vitamin D, you're in super trouble there, because that is an autoimmune condition that can get switched on. So again, that's just one example. And when you think, you know, okay, you might say, well, your thyroid is not going to produce progesterone or estrogen. But when you're dealing with the endocrine system, there's a huge hormonal orchestra involved. So your pituitary, your thyroid, your ovaries, everything is connected. And I still believe there's so many gaps in the knowledge, you know, that we haven't, we're opening Pandora's box and everything is popping up singly. And then when we pull it all together, we say, yeah, look at the impact of a low thyroid or Hashimoto's on pregnancy outcomes. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, what about for men as well? Because it's important that they have the right amount for sperm, I presume.
Oh, so again, it has antioxidant capacity. So if you're looking at sperm, it's extraordinarily volatile. Okay, it's fat soluble as well. So vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin. The problems with men, and this it will be the same for zinc as for vitamin D. We have low rates of sperm now. So they have gone down in certain parts of the world by 40%.
Wow. Due to lifestyle and diet?
Well, lifestyle and yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Artificial sweeteners, everything, you know, all of that. But the other problem is pesticides, poor air quality, poor soil quality, stress, not sleeping. All of those things are impacting negatively. But coming back to the issues with men in the fertility arena, so less sperm, poor mobility. Okay, so the tail is very fat soluble and it needs a lot of power. So you know, if it can't swim, DNA fragmentation, which is not a pleasant one, and a lot of guys don't cope very well. I know from my own dealings with them, when they find out that, you know, some of the sperm have maybe 2 tails, no head, you know, all of this kind of, that's going down to the DNA and the RNA part of when they're developing. At that stage, you need a huge amount of zinc and you need vitamin D and you need massive antioxidant capacity. So sperm is made every 74 days. So you do get a chance for another batch. And what I find fascinating about all of this is, you know, it is made from what you're eating. You can't go out and buy chemicals to make it. It's the one area that we can't adjust with drugs. So if you're not getting in the right food, taking your supplement, taking your omega-3. Omega-3 again is hugely important in this. You're going to have poor outcomes when it comes to sperm with vitamin D. Yeah, so as I said, vitamin D is a big one.
And why is it important when you're trying to conceive? I'm pregnant, but we're focusing on trying to conceive today. To swap a multivitamin for something that's geared up for conception, such as ProSeive with the Pro for men, the Pro Max for men and for women. What is it that is in those supplements that you can't get from regular?
Yeah, so this is the Pro Max for women.
Yep.
This is a great one because it's the men and women together.
Yeah.
Happy ever after, because you know yourself, some men are not very compliant when it comes to taking. So if you're both there, you've had the breakfast, you know, the box is open, that's yours, that's mine. It's a great way of doing it. I guess to answer that, the research that has gone into dosage. Okay. And when we're saying zinc is much more important in men than women. And that is without, you know, it's involved in 300 enzymes in the human body. So enzymes won't function properly without it. Okay. So it's like you're baking a cake and you forgot to put your eggs in. Your cake won't rise. So it's the same thing with the human body. And we don't know at any moment in time what enzymes are working within us. We haven't got to that level at this moment in time. Maybe in years to come, you can take a saliva test and go, oh, that enzyme is not working. You need to eat more eggs. But we haven't got there yet.
So vitamin D is something that you can go and get checked, isn't it? You can ask your doctor to do a test to see whether you're taking it as well.
Yes.
I know that because I checked that when I was having treatment, as you know, something just to sort of check that supplementation wise and with my diet, I was kind of ticking those areas that were obviously very important, or are obviously very important for fertility. And what about Zinc's role in female fertility?
I beg your pardon?
Zinc's role in female fertility, is that something to do with eggs?
Oh no, it's got to do with, well, okay, let's look at zinc with all the enzymes in the body. So it's involved in protein metabolism. So protein is required to make hormones, it's required for eggs, it's required for everything. So if you're low in zinc, so for example, if a small child is low in zinc, they won't grow properly. Right? But there's many roles again, but I suppose to focus in on progesterone in particular. A lot of women who are probably around here today are going through fertility treatment have to have a lot of progesterone added in. Now, if you can get it in a natural way, it's always better. So zinc in conjunction with vitamins B6, in conjunction with magnesium, is a great regulator for progesterone. It's also involved in the DNA in terms of the follicles. It is involved in the endothelial lining of the uterus. It is involved in chromosomal issues, egg quality. You know, and coming back to what I said to you from day one, copper and zinc and magnesium and calcium, they all need to balance. So don't be tempted to say, you know, somebody says, oh, you've low zinc. Don't be tempted to go out and take 50 milligrams twice a day. It's not going to work.
Well, that's why using something like ProSeive and using the max version, where you've got everything within the supplements that you're taking combined, gives you the reassurance that the amounts are correct for what you need them for, rather than, as you said, sort of thinking, okay, well, I'm going to take some extra zinc or I'm going to take some extra vitamin D.
Not a good idea. Now,
Yeah.
you may take extra vitamin D if you have your bloods in front of you. As I say, I had a lady yesterday, her vitamin D was 145. I had to say stop straight away, because, you know, they read articles and they think, oh, I'll take 5,000 units because somebody said it, or, you know, not a good plan.
Mm. Well, that's why I'm happy to have you on here today to explain this, and also to be, you know, doing this work with ProSieve, because to have supplements which are backed by science, and are used across the board by you know, nutritionists, clinics, etc., is very reassuring for people who are working out what they should be taking.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
what?
in Ireland, the clinics will recommend it. They will, you know, give you a script, say go, and so, as I said, doctors do their job. It's not something they learn in college, which is fair enough. But from my experience, doing the continued professional development talks and seminars in the clinics, they're very positive about the product.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. For anyone who's just joined, in case you missed, ProSieve are very kindly offering 15% off for a limited time across their range. So head to our link in bio. You can read more about what we're discussing today and the importance of vitamin D and zinc for fertility and why, as well as using code FHHVIP15 to be able to get 15% off your supplements, which is fantastic. So any advice for someone who is, you know, going into fertility treatment, or in the early stages of trying to conceive naturally, or perhaps many months into trying to conceive naturally? When would you say to start making these lifestyle changes with, you know, cutting out alcohol, looking at your diet, looking at exercise, making sure you're taking the right supplementation?
Um, at least 3 to 6 months. Think about it, sperm 74 days. So we always do a 90-day protocol with a man. Just, you mentioned something there, exercise. And it's funny because we all know that exercise is very good for us and it's vital and it's necessary. Over exercising can have a deleterious effect on the fertility challenge. So not, you know, for example, triathletes, people doing Ironman, all of those kind of women doing a lot of marathons, that may go against you. So moderate exercise is what is recommended for fertility.
Mm-hmm. That's very good advice. You mentioned just briefly before, for anyone who's just joined, that you do sometimes see people who might have read something and they think, oh, I want to increase my vitamin D, and suddenly they're taking way too much and not potentially taking the right formula for conception, like the Pro Max for men or women or both. What is the danger of doing that? How can taking too much of vitamin D or too much of zinc be detrimental for fertility?
Okay, well, vitamin D, because it's a fat soluble vitamin, you can get hypervitamin D nosis. And that can cause all sorts of problems. And it's stored in your kidney. Well, because it's a hormone, it goes through quite a lot of metabolic processes. First process in the liver, and then the next process in the kidney. And if you've too much in the kidney, it'll get backed up in the liver. So you can get toxic liver. It can put your parathyroid out. So you will have calcium problems. You can get calcium stones. It's involved when the parathyroid for moving calcium from blood to bone and bone to blood. So no, it's not good to have it too high. So be very careful. I always say to people, everything you go put into your mouth gets across the gut wall and gets into your blood. So just because you read it in a blog or somebody said take 10,000 units, not a good plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And last question, if you have time, unless anyone else has any questions. There were questions before privately, but I feel that we've covered most of them now. Why should people consider going for a slightly more, you know, expensive product supplement-wise, and spending a bit more money for a better formula versus a cheaper product that, you know, they just think, well, that will be okay?
Okay, well, number one, if you were to go out and buy all of the ingredients separately, it would be way more expensive, which most people are doing, by the way. And number two, be buyer beware when you're buying supplements, because a lot of them have bulking agents in there. Okay, they'll have additives, they'll have colorings, they'll have flavorings, they'll have all sorts of things in there. And when you're trying to read the label, which most people don't do, you'll see things like methyl cellulose, you'll see talc, you know, a lot of supplements have very, very little in them besides bulking agents. So again, if you're trying to get your body ready to make a new little human, or if you're a little human growing inside of you, you have to be super careful what you put in there. You get what you pay for. I personally, I don't think they're expensive, because I'm a nutritionist, and because people come to me and they say, I'm taking this supplement and that, and they bought them, you know, on the net for various different. I'm like, wow, that's 99, 200 euros. Like, and then when you go into the fertility clinics, have you seen the price of the testing? And I'm always, you know, surprised that people will invest all of that money in testing and treatment and not get their diet right.
Which is the first thing to do. Yeah, absolutely. And I think also going for a more premium product like ProSieve, you've got the reassurance that everything is backed by science. And also in terms of the calculations, you've got the right things to support your body for conception, which is ultimately what we're all trying to achieve, you know, everyone who's joining today. So
and you can have a little bit of control, because you can have man and woman.
I like that. Yeah. We've they're really popular on our platform, and we've done some fantastic work with ProSieve. So head to our link in bio. You can read more from the experts. And if you have any questions, please DM ourselves or ProSieve. And for anyone who's just joined, you can get 15% off with the code FHHVIP15, which is an offer which is running currently. So definitely take advantage of that. I think the last thing to say is probably, you mentioned, you know, taking supplements for 3 to 6 months before you ideally conceive. But for people who think, oh, you know, I don't have that much time, it's still worth changing your habits and trying, surely, than thinking, well, I have time.
Absolutely, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. If you take it today, you're in a better position next week.
Yes.
It's never too late.
Yeah. Well, Gay, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you everyone for joining. Please head to our link in bio to read more. It's fascinating and very, very useful for anyone who's trying to conceive. So really appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.